yes, it is Monday night again, and I am back with your weekly live dose of real estate reality. Thanks so much for being here tonight. My name is Jackie Baker, and I'm here in northern New Jersey. Thanks so much for joining in the conversation tonight. And so if you saw the title and the thumbnail and all the things, our friends, the corporate investors, are back again. And they're buying up homes again. And I know a lot of people talk about this, and they're saying this is what's driving up the home prices. And, you know, they're stealing all these affordable homes from the first-time buyers. Yeah, that's true. And it did die off for a while last year. We saw them pull back. And here we are. A report came out from Redfin, and they're back again. So this week, I am so happy to bring back my good friend. Hold on. My good friend, Joe Pareca from California. How are you?
I'm good, Jackie. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming back on. It's so good to have you.
It's my pleasure. I love being here.
Yeah, thank you. I thought you'd be good for this topic because we love to have our conversations and chat about the things. So and I know I asked you this before, if you were seeing any of this, experienced any of this in your market with the corporate investors, and you said not really, right? Just maybe some like small mom and pop investors, like, buying to flip a home.
That's exactly it. So, and for those of you out there, so I'm about 40 miles east of Los Angeles. So pretty much still the greater LA area is what we consider it. And just based on what I've seen, first off, corporations and flippers are always going to be active in the real estate market because it's a great investment when you can afford to do it. So we're still seeing every once in a while, the super distressed properties. I mean, I just sold one to an investor client. This house, you didn't even really want to go inside of it. It was a wreck. Right. And that investor bought that house, and he's going to be flipping it. So those types of things are still in action somewhat a little bit, but I haven't seen a whole lot of, corporations, LLCs, things like that coming in and buying what we would consider to be, your typical starter or move up homes, which again, in my area is anywhere from 600,000 to about 850,000. We're not seeing a whole lot of that, but I could see that potentially happening in areas a little bit further east than myself and a little bit further northeast than myself, where the value proposition might be a little bit more enticing to the sort of the corporate LLC investors.
Right. Yeah, pretty much same here in Jersey. Jersey's not seeing a lot of it. I'm going to talk about what's happening in the city of Newark a little bit later, because there's a lot of distressed properties in Newark, and the mayor there put a plan in place to stop the corporate investors from coming in. I'll share what they did. It's really interesting. But same thing here in Jersey, where we are in northern New Jersey, same thing, starter homes, you're talking, 500, 600, 700,000. Like, this is what people are paying now. Yeah. And so why are the investors, why are they going to pay that? I don't know, but they're not. So so let's get into the first article. I have so many, and I just got to choose here. Hold on. Here we go. This is from fortune.com. Investors are scooping up roughly 1 in 5 homes sold in the housing market and making more money than before. What? Yeah. At the start of last year, investors pulled back. Their home purchases plummeted almost 50%, according to Redfin, not too far off from existing home sales, which, as we know, fell to their lowest point in almost 30 years. It was a change from their activity throughout the pandemic-fueled housing boom, though. At that time, investor home purchases more than doubled. Everyone was buying homes because mortgage rates were historically low and remote work became a thing. It all changed when mortgage rates soared, and in some areas, home values declined and rents cooled, putting a dent in investors' profits. And let's not forget, borrowing costs were much higher too.
Yep.
Now they're back. Investor home purchases are rising, albeit slightly, for the first time in almost 2 years, according to Redfin. In a newly published analysis, Redfin found investors bought 44,000 homes in the first quarter, up 0.5% from a year earlier. And Redfin defines an investor as any institution or business that purchases residential real estate. Investors bought almost 19% of homes sold in the first quarter of this year. So roughly 1 in 5 homes per Redfin That's fewer homes than before and throughout the pandemic, but it is the highest share in close to 2 years. The rationale behind the return being with home prices and rents back on the rise and the initial shock of elevated mortgage rates in the rearview mirror, investors are easing their foot off the brake pedal. That being said, they're making more money than they were a year ago, too. In March of this year, the typical home sold by an investor drove a slightly more than 55% return or close to $175,000 profit. Last year, in the typical situation, an investor sold a home for more than $146,000 than they bought it for, or 46% or above 46%. Fewer investors sold at a loss, too. Redfin's analysis found investors are buying both more expensive homes than before and a record share of the most affordable homes in the country. The typical home bought by investors in the first quarter cost $464,560. That's up 9.2% from a year earlier. Investors purchased $31.3 billion worth of homes in the first quarter, up 6.6% year over year. While their purchases are more expensive homes increased the most in the first quarter, low-priced homes still represent a larger share. So low-priced homes amounted to 47.5% of investor purchases in the first quarter, but high-priced homes amounted to 28.5%. And a lot of the increase in their more expensive home purchases were driven by investors' growing presence in California, Joe.
Oh, no.
In San Francisco and San Diego, investors bought more than 23% of homes sold in the first quarter, some of the highest shares apart from cities in Florida, such as Miami and Jacksonville. That is crazy.
Yeah.
They're buying the expensive homes.
It is, because the areas, especially in California, they mentioned of San Diego, San Francisco. San Francisco, we all know what that's about in terms of the property value there. Everything is very expensive.
Yeah.
San Diego is one of the markets that is rising very quickly in terms of average sale price.
Really?
San Francisco is right on the border with our southern neighbor, Mexico, and it's awesome weather, great place. It's where I took a honeymoon, take vacation all the time.
Yep.
I'm really surprised to see that figure for investment purchases be so high and so increasing, because again, the prices are higher there. So definitely we're seeing that investors are willing to spend more money than before to get in the game. And that's probably due in part to what they see in the future in terms of inventory being available, but also rental prices. And those areas are always going to command really high rents. So their investment's a little bit safer.
So would that also be like a big Airbnb market down there too, or no?
Yeah, exactly. San Diego definitely could be a big Airbnb market. Same with San Francisco. And again, like with a lot of places all across the United States, when we say, San Diego, San Francisco, obviously that's one kind of tight area, but then there's the surrounding area that is San Diego, and Airbnbs there could definitely be popular. There's a huge, obviously, military presence in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
It's the head of, it's kind of the some of the main area of operation for the Navy. So that could also be enticing to investors as well, having families and friends, need spaces to rent while they visit, people in the military.
Right. Okay. All right, cool. Just want to get some comments. Good evening, VR Cat Lady. And Joshua says greed at all-time highs. Unfortunately, yes, that is the case. Yeah. It is surprising that, well, it's surprising, but it's not, that they're going to spend more money on the more expensive homes, right? Because if they can raise the rents, they can, take advantage of the whole Airbnb market. Which, what's funny? I saw a lot of videos over the past year about the Airbnb market crashing.
Yeah, the Airbnb bust.
Airbnb bust, yes. And people are going to go back to using hotels, which I understand that because of the fees, right?
Yep.
But I have a rental property, like a summer rental, and believe it or not, I put it on VRBO. I'm like, let's see how this goes, because VRBO charges a cheaper fee than Airbnb does. It booked. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh, all right, maybe it's not that bad.
I think just like so many other things that we hear and read about in the news, particularly pertaining to real estate, And the first and foremost, everybody loves to talk about any type of market crash, whether it's real estate,
Oh yeah.
stock, Airbnb, doesn't matter. People love it. People love it.
Yep.
And I think that it's important to realize that all that stuff is like so hyper local. And so some areas probably will see a decrease in the desirability and demand of Airbnbs. But I think as the most part, I know I can tell you now that when myself and my family, whether it's just my wife and I or my wife and other people of our family, when we decide we're going to go somewhere, the first thing we do is look on Airbnb.
Yep.
Because it's, you can all be together. You have the kitchen, you have the full house, you have the full backyard.
Yeah.
And by the time you would book, if it's a full family experience with 5 or 6 people, you're going to need at least 2, probably 3 or 4 hotel rooms.
Yes.
Which by the time you add all that up, it's becoming as expensive as an Airbnb, and maybe it doesn't have the amenities that you like. So, I still think Airbnb is going to be very popular, and it's going to be a popular option for a lot of people.
Yep. No, you're right. You're right there. Hello, David Matney. He says, and the hidden cameras. Apparently, that was an issue too. People putting hidden cameras in the Airbnb. I mean, well, look, they gotta check on their property, David. They gotta make sure nobody's like screwing around with it. I want to pull up the Redfin, let's see, that Redfin article where they showed their analysis. Okay, can we see that? It says here, investor home purchases rise for the first time in nearly 2 years. So it says here, breaks it down a little bit. California markets, so the largest increases with investor purchases jumping more than 20% in San Jose and Oakland.
And that's interesting because San Jose and Oakland are very, very different. They're very close together, but they're very different.
Really?
Oakland, yeah. San Jose is a tech center. So lots of high net worth, high dollar, high value people in that area. And Oakland is the opposite. So Oakland has a lot more distressed properties, rehab needed properties. So that's very interesting that both of those places picked up. And I could see kind of the draw to each of those. I think there's a lot of value to be had in Oakland by these large investors. They could probably, they could buy several properties in Oakland for the price of one property in San Jose. But also the San Jose properties are quite desirable because there's always a demand of high net worth individuals going to that area for all the work in tech and Silicon Valley and all that stuff. So it's just kind of interesting because when I read that, I was like, wow, San Jose and Oakland, it's like black and white and they're very, very different from each other. But obviously they are identifying opportunities in both those areas.
So Oakland, what do you think? I mean, I know it's not your market, but I mean, what do you think the average price is? Like, can people afford a starter home there?
Well, yes. I in comparison to places like San Francisco and San Jose, Oakland is going to look much more affordable, but it certainly has its location challenges. It definitely is less desirable than both of those places. And I think probably what you're seeing is you're probably seeing an investment opportunity for people that are like, hey, you know what, we like what we kind of saw in Atlanta and Georgia, where investors are buying up neighborhoods, buying up tracts. They're buying by the street, not by the house.
Right. Okay. All right. So, what does it say here? It says, Oakland. Okay, I thought they would talk about home prices in Oakland. This is, it says the same that it had in the other article. Investors coming off the sidelines because they're making more money. They sold in March, went 55% more, like I said before in the other article. So this is crazy. That they're back in the game again. Let me see here. Like here, look at this chart. The national investor purchases. Look at that in 20, right? So you go from Q1 2020. Look at how that spiked up like that. Oh my God.
Yeah, and that was partially due to the Fed just, holding the floor on interest rates, and money was so cheap. I mean, money was practically free to borrow at that time. So it's really not a big surprise to see,
I know
what happened.
That's insane. All right. Oh, this is what I wanted to show you here. So investors are buying more single family homes than before. Yeah, this is a problem. Investor purchases of single family homes rose 3.9% year over year in the first quarter, the first increase in nearly 2 years. Meanwhile, investor purchases of townhouses, condos, co-ops, and multifamily properties fell 8.6%, 6.4, and 2.5% respectively. Investors are likely keen on single family properties because that segment of the market has posted relatively strong rent growth, aka has stronger ROI potential, also has lower tenant turnover. My, look at that.
And on top
So,
of that, too, a lot of those single family homes, they have a better appreciation
yeah.
value over the condos and townhomes and co-ops and things like that. So
Oh, for sure.
all
For
around,
sure.
it's a win. And that is another good point that they bring up, that yeah, your renter turnover is much likely to be much lower in a single family home, because typically in a single family home, it's going to be a family.
Yeah.
And most people don't want to just uproot their kids and schools and friends.
Yep.
Whereas if it's an apartment or a condo and it's a single person or a couple, it's much easier for them to move. So I can definitely see that the single family home as being a much more attractive investment for these investors.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So it goes on here to say single family homes represented 68.9% of investor purchases, the highest percentage since mid 2022. Meanwhile, condos, co-ops represented 18.7, townhomes 7.2, multifamily 5.3. I'm surprised the multifamily is that low.
Yeah,
You know?
I'm as well. I'm as well. Now, I don't know, when for that stat, are they talking about just in general in the United States or in California?
This is nationwide, I
Okay,
believe.
okay.
Yeah.
That is
Yep.
interesting because I could see that number being a little bit lower in California.
Yeah.
Just because multifamily stuff is really expensive to get in the game. It's like, if you try
Yeah.
to
Oh,
buy
yeah.
a small apartment building, it's going to cost you several millions of dollars. And a lot of
Sure.
landlords are, especially the smaller mom and pop landlords, are finding a difficult time renting here in California because of the way that laws are constructed around tenant rights and squatters' rights and things like that. A lot of
Oh,
landlords
yeah.
are feeling a little bit helpless and powerless, and
Mhm.
they're less likely to want to rent to or have rentals in general, because it's if they have a bad tenant on their hands, it's a big headache for them.
Mhm. Right. Oh, we got some comments on here. I love it. Got my comments
Oh yeah, we're
going. I
rolling,
love
Jackie. We're
this.
rolling.
We
Let's
have a
go.
question. Tony Ferrara. Thanks for being here, Tony. I'm getting close to retiring and already have my kids and grandkids already living in East Cobb County, Georgia, a bit above Atlanta. Is this a wise time to buy there? Uh, I don't know what the market is like in Atlanta, if it's softening yet. I know some parts of the country we're seeing a bit of a correction going on, not a big correction, but a little bit.
Mhm.
Not sure about Atlanta right now. I think your best bet is to connect with an agent there to see what's going on in the market, to see if it's wise for you to do that. I mean, interest rates came back down a little bit. They were
Yeah.
down, right? Like they were below 7.5, weren't
I
they?
saw I saw most recently 6.99. I don't know if that was any
Ooh,
discounts or points.
okay.
And that's always for like exceptional credit, primary residence, like that's like the best case scenario. But what's funny is Tony's question's a lot like a question when I was doing Jen's live stream a couple of weeks ago. There was a lady that came on, oh, should I buy in this area? It's closer to my kids. And I think Jackie was correct. Hey, you should really talk with a local agent in that area to
Right.
get a sense of things. I think the general rule of thumb is, if you're in the situation, Tony, where it's like, I don't know if I should buy here or buy now, or should I wait? Really what
Yep.
it comes down to is if you find something that you like, that fits your needs, that's in the location that you like, maybe it's close to your family or your grandkids or whatever, and you can afford it, it's probably not going to do you much benefit to wait.
Right.
And so if you're comfortable with the cost and the figures and the money side of things, and it's where you need to be, and you find a house that fits your needs,
Exactly.
I always try to motivate clients to make that decision based on those factors, and not what's the market going to do or what might the market do in the future, because it it's a guessing game.
It is. It is. I'm telling you, it is a guessing game. We don't know. We can't predict it. And yeah, let me see here. Government. Let me just go through here. Somebody put here, Joshua Chambers, will the government have to step in after the election to help first-time buyer Americans purchase homes? I don't think that will happen.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so either. I don't see that happening at all. No.
I understand kind of the thought process there, Joshua, and in theory, yes, it would be nice, but I don't think, there's a lot that goes into this, and I'm not going to put the tinfoil hat on and say there's conspiracies.
Yeah.
But I think that there is reasoning that the government hasn't done that really in the past, other than these, $10,000 tax credits or these very minute rebates that,
like that's going to do anything.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a pat on the back, and that's about it.
Exactly. Yeah. No, don't count on the government to do anything, at least. Yeah. Anyway, VR Cat Lady, is it ever a good idea to purchase a property in cash if property will be used as a rental? Well, I mean, you're going to be, you're not going to have a mortgage to pay. So your rent, you're going to less, minus any expenses that you're going to have, to maintain the property. It's more money in your pocket. But I would always keep money as a reserve for repairs, right? Always have that available, because you never know what's going to break, what your tenants will do, all that stuff. So
it also depends on the price point of the property, how much cash you have, what your reserves are, instead of, now interest rates are a little bit higher. So obviously paying cash, could be better in this situation. But maybe instead of doing 100% cash purchase, maybe you put 50% down. And that way, the monthly is much less, but you still have good cash reserves for your maintenance or for other investments. Of course, if you've got a bunch of cash, it's never a bad idea to put it into real estate.
Darn right. All right. We have here Thundercloak 99. My wife and I have a good chunk of money to put down on a starter, and we can't find one that's not in an undesirable location. That's everybody's pain right now.
Yeah.
It's finding that affordable home, and people are going to have to, you're going to have to look outside your area. When I was on Jen's live stream earlier, we were talking about how in some parts of the country, like I said this in one of my videos, we have a tale of two markets. You have some markets that are starting to soften, starting to correct, and some that are still crazy, like here in New Jersey and Massachusetts and California, right? But there are some markets that are still good, are still going to go. They're going to be booming because it's like the last frontier. It's like like Ohio, parts of Illinois. It's where one of the only places where you can still find an affordable house.
Yeah.
So now just wait. That's going to go skyrocket.
You're right. And I think to Thundercloak's question, obviously, and I don't know where you're looking. I don't know what your market is, Thundercloak, or what location you're in, but it's not an uncommon story for people to have to sacrifice a little bit on an undesirable location or maybe a smaller home. Again, just keep in mind, it's just your starter home. You're doing it to get your foot in the door, both, I guess, figuratively and literally, get your foot in the door and start building equity. So it's not going to be your forever home. It's the starter home. And sometimes you might just have to say, hey, you know what? It's not where we want to be in the long run, but it's where we can afford right now. You can stop paying rent. You can start building equity. So just keep that in mind as you're going through and looking at your options.
Mm-hmm. Right. So we have here Amigo Batson says it's always best to buy in cash and be debt free. It's a no brainer. But there's benefits, pros and cons to everything. Right. So it all depends on an individual's situation and what works best. Thundercloak says he's in Lancaster. They're in Lancaster, PA. Okay. So you're up in my neck of the woods. So yeah, I feel for you. New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, we're all feeling the pain up here. And we have here Joe K says, I also think that because so many boomers lost their retirement savings in 2008, they're forced to work into their mid 70s to 80s. That's why we haven't seen the silver tsunami. That's the first I've heard, like that's the first comment like that I've heard. And I never even thought about that.
Yeah,
right.
That's a good point.
That's a really good point. Yep. That's a really good point. And it's a sad point. But VR Cat Lady says, do most successful real estate investors get their property from word of mouth instead of MLS listings? I think it's a mix. I know for here, like I have investors, they're builders, and I try to find them off market stuff, but they're hard to come by. But mostly they're MLS. I mean, what about you, Joe? Is that how you get your investors?
Almost the exact same thing. I mean, I just sold one off market, but that's because the situation, there was a squatter in the property. It was a hoarder situation. I mean, this house was the type of house, like I can remember what it smells like. So properties like that have, kind of difficult situations where they're not conducive to, like, let's have an open house, let's do showings,
Yeah.
But still, I think most of the time, most people realize that to get the maximum return out of their property, even if it's distressed or even if you think it's like an investor special, the best way to get the highest and most for that seller is to go onto the open market, go into the MLS, promote the property, and get as many offers and interested buyers as you can.
Right.
So I do think it's a mix. And I think the best way to as an investor to get a really good deal is to try to find that off-market property, but it's not easy to do. And I wouldn't say it's common either. I would say it's a pretty healthy mix between MLS, probably mostly MLS, and then also some off-market opportunities.
Right. Yep. That's the same thing here. 1 second. I have to text my family to close the garage door because I have people entering my house as we're talking. Sorry. Anyway, sorry about that. It's kids. I'm telling you. Anyway, so let me go on. I wanted to hold on a second. We're going to share something else. So this was, here we go. U.S. cities map. Okay. U.S. cities map investors snapping up affordable homes. So that gentleman before talked about Atlanta.
Yeah.
So this is right. Yeah. Look here, where corporate landlords are investing in Metro Atlanta.
Yeah.
So you have in the blue, you have private equity. And then on the other, you have REITs, right? The Real Estate Investment Trust. If anybody's not familiar with that, that's something like you invest with your financial advisor, you put money into a REIT, and then these people go out and they buy these properties. So look at the number of them. Atlanta's insane.
Yeah, I know Atlanta's been a hotspot for a little while now.
Wow. But like you just said before, they're buying up neighborhoods.
I mean, hundreds of houses at a time. And then the crazy part is then those investors control market rent and market price for the houses, whether it's for sale or for lease. And it gets a little scary if you're just an end consumer, if you're just a regular person looking for a regular home. Now you're really at the mercy of what these investment companies are doing.
I know. It's a shame. But now what's interesting is I'm seeing, I was doing research and I found that a lot of places, a lot of states, governments are trying to put a stop to it.
Yeah.
Right. So I know the federal government has even tried to propose bills to stop these corporate investors. But guess what's happened so far? Nothing. There's still the bills are still sitting there since October. I think October of 2022. That was the last one that I saw.
Yeah.
So
and I think crazy. I don't know if it's just one of these things where it's like, oh well, we're just trying to make people feel better by saying that we're thinking about doing something. I don't know how committed they are to actually doing something because I sense that the government is pretty hesitant to start or to try to influence the real estate market or markets in general. It is a slippery slope. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do, to try to figure out how do we come up with rules or laws that don't affect things in a way that will endanger the market, but also gives end consumers and small consumers an opportunity at fairness. It's not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not. But Something's got to give, though. Something has to give, because it's not, it's just not fair to your average American right now that wants to get a home. But I wanted to share with you, now I'm glad I brought this up before I forget. So I mentioned before, Newark, New Jersey. This is my state. So look at what they're doing there. This is as of March. In Newark, New Jersey, they sell residents $1 homes, $1 homes to fend off corporate property buyers. Look at this. The city hopes the $1 home lottery will shore up local home ownership and combat neighborhood blight. It's not the first community to try the strategy, and it likely won't be the last. So it says here, 7 lucky residents in Newark, New Jersey won big in January. They picked up city-owned properties for $1 a piece in the lottery that came with a catch. The homes aren't exactly move-in ready. The city had seized the deteriorated properties and empty lots for reasons such as tax delinquency or code violations. Buyers must pay for the homes to be repaired or constructed, but they will get a low interest rate mortgage to help them cover the cost. The program is Newark's latest effort to shore up local home ownership and combat neighborhood blight. Mayor Ross Baraka bills the $1 home program, which targets low and moderate income residents, as a way to close wealth gaps and prevent corporate investors from buying up homes and hiking up their rent. I mean, I think that's a great idea. Good on them.
Yeah.
You know?
That is
I
a
think
good
it's
idea.
awesome. Let them, and now you're going to have people like, let me continue before I go on. It says Newark's home ownership rate is just 29.6%, far below the rate of 64.6% of all of New Jersey and 65.2% in U.S. overall. Institutional buyers accounted for about half of Newark's residential real estate sales between 2017 and early 2020. Up from less than 20% in 2010, according to the research from Rutgers Law School Center of Law. The report finds that those purchases led to higher rents and decreased home ownership, disproportionately in predominantly Black neighborhoods. Newark is far from the only city grappling with affordable housing challenges. If the Dollar Home Initiative goes smoothly there, it could serve as a blueprint for other cities. Listen, good on them. I give people that opportunity. I mean, yeah, you got to get in the lottery, but I just think that's good. I don't know. I just think that's awesome that they did that. Keep them out, give them to the people that deserve it, right?
Yeah, and
hardworking people.
And let them put in the sweat equity and the time and the money and let them make it theirs. And also the other thing that's going to do is that is absolutely, without a doubt, going to strengthen the community as a whole. And when I say strengthen the community, I mean the community identity, because now you have people that are not just monetarily invested, but they've put their time and their energy and they've rehabbed this home, and they feel like they have something that they're going to cherish because, first off, they had to win the lottery literally to get it. Yeah. But number two, now they've been able to put their time and their sweat equity into this property, and they're going to care about it. And if they care about their home, chances are they're going to care about their community, and it's just going to lead to a higher level, higher quality of living for that whole neighborhood. The interesting thing about the $1 home initiative is, now I know here in California, we have property tax. It's based on a percentage of the sale price. Mm-hmm. So in New Jersey, how does that work? Because if someone buys a home for $1, like if someone bought a home for $1 here in California, the government would go absolutely insane, because they would be like, we're gonna tell you what your property taxes are, because normally it's done based on the sale price. When a property gets resold, it gets reassessed, and then boom, your property tax bill comes from that. How does it work in New Jersey? So we don't reassess right away when the deal closes, right? I'm assuming that's what you do in California. So as soon as it closes, they'll tell you what your taxes are, right? Yes, it's within usually 6 months, but then you get a supplemental tax bill that's retroactive to the date that you bought your home. Wow. So yeah. Okay. So, and we have to tell our buyers all the time, hey, get ready, because anywhere from 2 to 6 months down the line, you're going to get a bill from the county that is going to be the difference between when you closed and that date. And it could, depending on the price of the home that you buy, if it's a $1 million home, you could be looking at a $6,000 or $7,000 tax bill
Oh
that you're
my
getting in the
God.
mail.
Wow. See, Jersey, what the way it works here, it goes based on the town and when their reassessment cycle is. Okay. So say if you close tomorrow on a house, whatever the taxes were for the current year, right? So for the 24, yeah, for the
Mhm.
2024 school year or whatever, you're still going to pay those same taxes as the
Mm,
previous owner did until it comes time for reassessment,
interesting.
right? Yes. So there's a few towns here in Bergen County that started reassessment process. I think it was last year or the year before, because now the values are up. Now they're just like, oh, well, let's go. We got to get
Yeah.
back on.
Yeah,
We
let's
got to get back
reassess.
in the game.
Let's reassess.
Let's reassess. Come on, we need our money. But yeah, that's pretty much how it works. It does. That's freaking funny that California that they within 6 months your taxes go up like that. Because I
Oh yeah.
get people ask me that all the time. They're like, "Oh my God, my taxes are going to go up when I buy this." I'm like, "No, not yet." And it's funny.
Yeah.
The video I'm putting out tomorrow is talking about how new homeowners are struggling to afford their homes now because their taxes and insurance have gone up, and
Yeah. Yeah.
just
That,
everything's expensive, right?
yeah.
So people aren't prepared for that. I mean, like you're telling your clients, like, "Hey, be prepared. You're going to get a tax bill in 6 months."
Yep.
But here in Jersey, you got to check with the local municipality to see when is when is the assessment cycle. I mean, typically whenever they vote on the budget, right? So for the school taxes, they go up incrementally every year anyway, like just not a huge amount.
Yeah.
But as far as reassessment, again, that's it depends on the town. It could be every few years. The town I used to live in New York, right? I lived in Rockland County, New York, which is right over the border from where I'm living right now. We got reassessed because for years our property taxes were super low because there was a power plant in the community, and
Mm.
for years they were carrying the bulk of the school taxes. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, it's great. When we bought our house in 1998, I think our taxes were like $5,000 a year for a 2,500 square foot colonial, half an acre. It was a bargain, right?
mhm.
So
Yeah.
fast forward, so it was in 98. I want to say probably like 7 years later, another company bought the power plant, a company from Texas, and they said, we're not, but they challenged it. They took the town and the school district to court and said, we're not paying these taxes anymore. It should be on the residents, not on us. They won.
Mm.
And I will tell you, my taxes went up to $12,000. So it went from like, at that point, it was like 6,000 when that happened. And then it doubled.
And this was in the mid 2000s, early 2000s.
Early 2000s.
Okay,
I would
so
say, yeah.
imagine $12,000 tax bill in the year 2002, 2003. That would be like an $18,000 tax bill in today's money. That's a lot.
It is now. So the funny thing was, so now we're like, forget this. By the time we were ready to sell the house in 2012, the taxes were up to 15,000 because it's like they did it in increments. I mean, we got slammed, and people like lost their houses. People had to sell.
For sure.
It was awful.
For sure.
Then that's when we decided, we're gonna let's look into Jersey. It's better schools. If we're gonna pay these high taxes, let's go into Jersey where we know our money's going into the school systems. Because in Rockland County, New York, I was like, yeah, that's a whole other. I could go on for days about that area. But anyway, so we come to my town where I'm living now. We're looking at houses. My house is bigger, and I'm on an acre of land, and our taxes when we bought our house was $5,000 cheaper than what we were paying in New York.
Oh, yeah.
So that was a no-brainer. We're like, sign us up.
Yeah.
I mean, and we stumbled. Thank God, we stumbled upon this house. It was a great neighborhood, and it was in 2012, just when things were starting to pick back up again a little bit, and it just, so it all worked out. But anyway, that's how our taxes work. I didn't mean to go into that whole that whole thing, but oh my gosh, we have so many. Let me stop sharing.
Hey, Jackie, your chat is like, I'm looking at some of these questions and like, these people are smart. These are some great,
very smart.
Just like,
I only have smart people coming.
Yeah.
I got smart guests. I got smart viewers. David Drin, thanks for joining us tonight. That's pretty brilliant. The dollar home bill, a pretty good example of why using our government for us is important and helpful to those of us normal folks who don't have a huge stacks of cash, right? I mean, that gives me hope. when the government does something like that,
Yeah.
that's like,
And,
okay.
and I feel like it's probably pointing to point out that was a local government
Yes,
solving a local problem.
exactly.
It wasn't one of these sweeping federal mandates where it's just like, hey, we've got, and that's what we always say. Like we said this before on your live streams where, real estate, it's hyper local. It is
Yes.
hyper local, not only in the problems, but also the solutions. So that's a really good example of a local municipality saying, hey, this is the problem that we have here. And this is how we can address it to help our people here.
Yep. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. But all right, Sedonia 31, they did that in my neighborhood and it worked out really well for everyone. It's a fantastic neighborhood now and thriving. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. But you know what, Joe, to get back to your comment before talking about property taxes. So yeah, those people who paid $1.
Yeah.
I would imagine the taxes would be whatever they be paying. The taxes they would be paying is whatever the current assessed value is. So say if that house is like completely,
right,
whatever, deteriorated, taxes would be really low. So again, be prepared. They're going to go up, So anyway, oh my God, we got to get into some of these comments here. This is great. All right, Nina, thanks for joining us. I'm in Georgia. I've been watching this happen for months and months. Houses go on sale, get sold, then months later put up for rent. It sucks. My boyfriend and I are trying to be oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Nina. That's tough. And
I'm so sorry.
You're just in an area that is getting absolutely pummeled by that type of activity, and it's really unfortunate.
So Georgia would benefit from what Newark is doing.
Yes, or
right?
something along the lines,
something
because
like that. Yeah.
The people in Georgia and the greater Atlanta area absolutely need some type of relief, because it is not fair for people like Nina and her boyfriend to just get iced out because they can't compete with these corporate investors or, whatever these are. That really is a problem. And then it locks Nina and her boyfriend into being renters forever. And then they can't build equity and they keep paying rent to the corporation. The corporation gets richer. It's a whole thing. It's
a whole thing. You know what, Nina, you should reach out to your lawmakers down there and put that idea out there to them. They should put some type of program to keep these investors out. Okay, Mohid, thanks for joining us. I have almost $400,000 cash that generates $1,500 in interest and renting, but also planning to buy a house. Wonder if it is the time. Just like Joe said before, if you come across something that fits your needs and it checks all the boxes, then do it. And do it.
And it's really important. Like I said, don't worry about timing the market. I understand that people are really sensitive to that, and I get it. Humans, we tend to remember traumatic things a lot better than non-traumatic things.
Right.
And 2008's not that long ago, right? Especially for millennials and older millennials, like that is fresh in our mind still. So you can't try to, I know that we're scarred from that. And it's like, oh, but should we put our money back into real estate? If you see a house that you like, if it works for you, if you can afford it, you have a stable job situation going on, like I said, you need to do it. You should just
do it. Yes. Suze, thanks for being here. A city in Ohio had a similar $1 home buying program in the early 80s. Coworker got one in a lottery. I think it was that. Wow. So this is going back to the 80s. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. So sorry, to add to that, talking about the millennials who're still traumatized for that. Yeah. I met a gal last year. She was like 37, 38 years old. She will never buy a house because of that.
Exactly. And that's a shame. And you have, and could it happen again? I'm not saying it couldn't happen again. I don't know what's going to happen 5 years or 10 years from now, but historically and statistically speaking, not likely to happen. And at the end of the day, when you're renting, you're paying someone else's bill, and the goal is to pay your own bill, build your own equity.
Exactly. Mawa, I think buying land now would be a better investment than buying a house when house prices will go down, then build. That's not a bad idea. I wouldn't want to deal with the construction costs though. No. I mean, it's super expensive to build a house right now. And we go on here to say one of the best towns in New Jersey to live is Branchville in Sussex County, but nobody is moving out because low taxes due to Progressive Insurance headquarters. Yeah, I think I did. I think Branchville was one of the towns. I did a video like a couple of years ago about like the best places in Jersey to live. I believe that was one of the towns. So Joe K, we looked at a house that was next to a creek. When I mentioned that to my father, he said, absolutely not buying a house should we worry about flooding next to a creek? Listen, if you saw my video, the one that's viral right now, I hate to even say they're viral, but never buy these types of houses. The one thing I talk about is buying a house in a flood zone.
Yeah.
Even if you're in a 500-year floodplain where it's like the chances of a flooding is, it's low risk, but you're still in a floodplain, there's still that risk. And with especially here in New Jersey, I have seen people's homes, I've heard of people's homes, my own clients, after they bought their brand new construction home, it flooded after a massive thunderstorm came through. Like it was weird. It was like, it was an anomaly, but it flooded. You don't know. So if you're near a creek, I listen to your father. Listen to your father. It's not worth it. Water damage is the worst. It really is, right, Joe? Yeah. I mean, if you get, you can repair it and all the things. When you go to sell that, you have to disclose it. At least here in New Jersey now, we have a separate disclosure. You have to say you had water in your house. That's going to turn buyers off. I'm just saying. Yeah. So anyway. Yep. All right. We have here a question from Nellie. Question: what do you think the risk is when buying a house from an owner without a realtor? Oh. I've never done this before. And like the safeguards I feel are in place when working with a realtor. Well, I don't know where you are. If you're here in Jersey, North Jersey, you do have to use a real estate attorney as well. So if you are going to go without a real estate agent, and say if you're going to go buy for sale by owner from somebody, definitely get a good real estate attorney that has your back. But I will tell you, it's a risk. It's like, I think not working with a real estate agent. Yeah, all right. We're both real estate agents. Of course, I'm going to say this, but right. You need us. Because if you're not going to, especially if it's your first time buying a home, you're not going to know all the ins and outs and what to look for. And, we've been around the block, Joe, right? We know like when people are playing games, we know when people are being shady, we know what to look for.
Absolutely. Right? All the red flags. And there's a reason that the most recent stat, I think that came out at the end of last year, 89% of people use a realtor when buying or selling a home. There's a reason for that. And I'm sure there's people in the chat. I know there's people out there that go, oh, I've bought houses without a real estate agent. I've done it multiple times. And like Jackie said, oh, I got an attorney and they just drafted it up and I saved a bunch. Yep. Yeah. But those people also don't know if they could have saved more off the purchase price. They don't know if they could have negotiated repairs or money for repairs or credits towards closing costs. All of these things. And when you go unrepresented, it's like going to court unrepresented. Like, if you got sued, would you walk into that courtroom and say, you know what, I'm just going to do this myself? Yes, you can, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you should. So every situation is unique unless you have a real affinity for like law or real estate, and that's what you like to do. I would absolutely use a real estate agent. And if it means that you have to compensate them or the seller or whatever the agreement is, I would highly consider doing it because they are going to have your best interest in mind. Unlike that seller who has their best interest in mind. Right. Okay. So she has a question continued. How can I protect myself if the owner won't go through a realtor? Again, get a good attorney. If the seller is adamant because they don't want to pay the commission, that's the best advice. Get a good attorney. Yep. Another thing that you can do too is you can say, hey, listen, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you don't need to have a realtor. If you don't want to be represented, that's fine. I am going to have a real estate agent and I'm going to pay them. And I'll give you a little trick. A lot of the times, if you go to a real estate agent and you say, hi, Mr. Real Estate Agent, I have identified a house that I want to buy. The seller would like to sell it to me. We already know that we're going to buy it. We've even agreed upon a price. And I just need you to help represent me through the transaction, the escrow process. There's a very, very high chance that realtor can help you for a lot less than you think that you're going to have to pay them. Right. And I know that's happened to me where I tell people, hey, if you've already got a pre-agreed upon arrangement and I just need to do the paperwork and make sure that everything's done in the correct way to safeguard you, the buyer, and look out for you, then my fee is deeply discounted in comparison to me having to go show a bunch of homes, go to open houses with this client, write a bunch of different offers for the client, negotiate a bunch of different times or whatever it may be. So that's another thing that you can ask an agent in your area. Hey, do you give a discount if I already have the seller and we already have an agreement and you just need to do the paperwork? So look into that. Yep.
Good advice, Joe. Thank you. All right. Lady N says a question. Do you think corporations are doing this to keep people renting and from building wealth? They control prices, inflation, jobs, and now real estate. Starting to feel this is intentional. Listen, I don't disagree with you. I'm like the biggest. Yeah, give me my tinfoil hat.
Yeah, I was going to say, where's the tinfoil?
Give me my tinfoil hat. But think about it, Joe. I mean, seriously, I think I really think that's part of their plan.
Oh, for sure.
Look, I'm a middle-aged woman. I've been around the block. I know I've seen a few things. I'm a little skeptical, just a little skeptical. That's all. But I don't know. I mean, do you think I'm crazy or
no,
what?
I think that Lady N's scenario is very possible, and it's not out of left field. Mm-hmm. Do I think that is the tactic that is being employed across the nation? No, at the end of the day, real estate's just a really good investment, whether you're a mom and pop landlord, whether you're an end consumer, whether you're a corporation. I mean, just look at a graph of housing prices over the last 70 years. Right. It only really goes one direction except for 2008. So, yeah. But yes, I will say that it does seem a little bit suspicious that corporations are buying it up left and right and then choosing to rent back to us. It is a bad feeling. It
very, very bad. I mean, how can you not be skeptical? Anyway,
yeah, I agree.
Italian Eddie Ralph, how are you? I'm in Connecticut. Yay, go Connecticut. I love Connecticut. And I'm in Connecticut on the shoreline, and homes are still selling within a few days and over listing price, multiple offers. I'm not surprised. Surprised. The Northeast is crazy. Like Jen up in Massachusetts, it's the same thing. The Boston market's insane. Did you know, Joe, that maybe was it with you? Maybe it was with you the last time you were on, but the most expensive state in the country right now is Massachusetts to live. I read a report for a family of 4 to be able to live comfortably in Massachusetts. You have to have a salary of $300,000.
Oh,
in Massachusetts, like really? Yeah,
that's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
That same type of stuff is happening here in terms of multiple houses. We listed a house on Wednesday. We specifically told, we're going to have an open house on Sunday, and we specifically told a couple of agents, hey, send your offer after the open house. We had 3 agents send offers, but disregard our instruction and send them before the open house. And the seller ended up accepting one because it was $200,000 over the asking price.
Stop it.
And this is on a home that started at $1,150,000. Oh, and it's going to sell for $1,350,000 cash. And I'm standing there, I'm talking to my associate, and I'm just like, it's a cool home and it's in a nice neighborhood. It's in a coveted neighborhood. But I would have never fathomed $1,350,000 for this house. And it's not a corporate. I mean, this is an end consumer. This is an end buyer. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just to give a taste of how things still continue or how they're continuing. And again, it's hyperlocal, like we were talking about. Some markets, they're taking their foot off the gas a little bit. There's a little bit of a recession in pricing. Yeah. And in other markets like Connecticut, like New Jersey, like here. Yep. You got to have your punching, your boxing gloves on.
You do. And here in Jersey, the more expensive homes are flying off the market like that too. Within a couple of days, 100,000, whatever, over 200,000 over asking. It's insane.
It is.
It's insane. Where are you getting the money, people? That's what I want to know. Anyway, we got here. Kay Lipping, thanks for watching. We live in Maryland on the western shore of Chesapeake Bay. And I know of houses nearby that are beautiful, but literally hanging off an eroding cliff over the bay. The water rises higher every year. Ay. Yeah, I don't want to be there.
Be careful with those shoreline homes.
Yeah. Yep. And so we have property in Delaware. We're not far from Maryland, which is like where our property is. We're like right on the Maryland border, right near Ocean City. So yeah, that's a popular area. So who else? Oh my God, the questions.
Your people are great, Jackie.
I know. I love it. All right. Question. Do you agree for under 40 age divorce, student loans and divorce kills any chance? I bought 12 cheap discount houses in Kansas and Oklahoma. Now moved to Thailand. Owners in 10 years will be rich. So trying to understand for under 40 age divorce. Do you understand this? What they're asking?
I'm trying to see. Do you agree for under 40 years old divorce student loans and
Student loans.
divorce.
Feels any chance for what?
And I don't think being divorced kills your chance at making money on a home. I mean, obviously divorces are tough because you usually gotta
if you have to split that up, right? Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe if you could reword that, we could.
Yeah, let's see. All right, it says here, oh, we got another one. I know in Canada, only about 30% of millennials will ever own a house unless they inherit one. Canada average is now $810,000. Toronto over 1.4. Only Edmonton under 350,000. Wow. That's insane. That's insane. Good Lord. Okay, Vicky says, thank you guys for all the great info. Would you say there's a cheaper option to buy land to put manufactured home on it? I'm in Essex County, New Jersey. Everything's super expensive and in bad condition. You could definitely do that. Or like a modular home. So you're thinking, because I know people do that, not so much a manufactured. When I say manufactured, I think mobile homes too, because I always think of Christina. But yeah, you can absolutely do that. Do your research on it, like find research companies, manufactured home companies. I know a couple of people in my town have done that. They bought land and just put a modular home on it. And it came out beautiful. It really did. Actually sold one.
Yeah. And I would say try to, Vicky, if you're in that situation, you really want to pursue that, maybe look around and try to find someone that's done that in the community.
Yes.
And try to pick their brain and say, hey, what difficulties did you have? What problems did you face? How did you overcome them? I think that, whether or not it's a cheaper option, you're going to have to do the numbers and see, based on what is buying a traditional home, what's the cost there for that, which would be a little bit more straightforward to figure out. I mean, just take the purchase price, add 5% for transactional costs and whatnot, closing costs, all that good stuff. And then you're pretty much there. But that could be a viable option.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Joe. Okay. The mystery of green. I love all these new these new viewers, all the fun
names. I like VR Cat Lady. That was like, I don't know what name that means, but I like cats. I have a cat. And I don't know if I just picture this person that's like in VR land, just petting cats all the time.
Yeah, right.
I'm fine with that. VR Cat Lady. I love that name.
That's cool. All right. The mystery of green says, here in Washington State, we have a GIS geology portal where you can see all of the potential natural hazards for any location in the state. I always check that when we were looking at houses. That's really cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Wow.
We have that for counties here. We have if you go on to like a city website, almost all of them have a GIS map, which also overlays zoning and some hazards and that type of stuff. So that's a great point. If your state or county or city has that, you should definitely look into it.
Wow, that's very cool. Amigo says, just make sure you're not buying a land in a flood zone near the ocean, or you might wake up in the Atlantic Ocean. Good point. Yeah, we don't want to be doing that. We don't want to be swimming with fishes. Francis, hi Francis, thanks for being here. I have over $250K in equity in South Florida, but insurance and taxes are over $6,000 a piece. Should I cash out and start over in Georgia or Carolina? Again, it's all about like your personal situation. From what I'm hearing about Florida, the cost of insurance, and if you're in an HOA community, the HOA fees are getting out of control. It's getting very expensive to live in Florida right now. So if you're finding yourself in that situation that you don't want to pay that anymore, then maybe now would be the time. But that's up to you. It's your own personal, situation. And if you've identified an area where you want to be, the house that you want, it meets the needs, and it makes sense financially. That's the most important thing. It's got to make sense financially. Then that would be a time for you to go.
Yeah, and if you're not worried about, if you're in a position where it's easier for you to pick up and move, you don't have a family, you don't have young kids, things like that. I think people, and this is a personal preference, but I think, people need to be a little bit more open-minded about moving sometimes, and maybe going to a new location, could be a fun new adventure, could save you some money, but obviously you have to have the lifestyle that it will allow for that.
Exactly. Okay, so getting back to that other person's
Yes.
comment, he
Yep.
says, I meant very hard to get a loan with under 680 score, and people go broke after divorce, and also car loans make them unqualified.
Yes.
U.S.
True.
median home price is 410, monthly payment 27K, almost double now. Yeah, I mean, in your situation, if you are getting divorced, I would wait a bit if you're going through that right now, to get your financial house in order once the dust settles from the divorce and all the things, and once you know if you're paying alimony, child support, all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, car
Car
loans are
loans is a
tough.
big one. That's a big one. In fact, I just recently, I didn't do I did a short form video on this, and people don't realize that when you have an expensive car note, let's say, an expensive, like 500 or 600 is like average now. It's crazy to think about.
Right.
I watched a thing
Right?
on, yeah, I watched a thing on TikTok where they just asked random people what their car loans were. And I could not believe the amount of people that have over $1,000 a month car payments, whether it's a lease or a loan. It absolutely blew my mind. And people don't realize that when you have a car loan payment or a lease payment or whatever the note is, and let's just say it's $800 a month, that
Yep.
right there is $800 a month that you cannot get qualified for on a loan. Like right
Exactly.
off the
Yep.
top. And so I
Yep.
tell people, get rid of that car, go buy a beater car for 5, 6, 7, 8 grand that just runs, get qualified for a loan, buy
Yep.
the house. Then if you're still comfortable with the monthly payment, sell the beater car and then buy the car that you want back down the line, or lease it or do whatever. But those expensive auto payments are a killer when it comes to qualifying for housing. It is.
Yep, exactly. It is. It is a killer. So if you're going to get a car, do what Joe said. Try not to get a loan. Get something. Get a secondhand, and
Yep. Especially if
buy
your goal is to buy
cash.
a house, especially
Yeah.
if you're, don't forget the BMW, forget the Mercedes, put your
Yep.
vanity aside. It's only for a short term. Go out,
Exactly.
buy the 10-year-old Honda, save
Yep.
money, and buy a house.
Yep. There you go. All right. So Mawa Azad says, what are the conditions of if buying land in New Jersey, having it farm assessed, acreage, time you have to purchase, sale amount, year? So you know what? I'm not 100% sure. If you're looking to do like the USDA loan, if you talk to a mortgage broker, they can tell you where in Jersey that qualifies. I mean, that's what I've been told by my lender. So if you're looking for the USDA agricultural loan, would be your best bet. Otherwise, other than that, I'm sorry, I don't know, because I don't sell a lot of land here. I never sell land here. It's only houses. It's only houses. So, all right. So what else have we got? Oh, this is Hello Watermelon says 10-year-old Hondas were selling only a few thousand less than brand new. Doesn't make sense. And he's got a point there too. I mean, think about it. Right after during the pandemic, it was hard to get a car.
Yeah.
The car market was through the roof.
Yeah, it was.
So,
we're seeing a little bit of a recession there on that now as well, where used car prices are coming back and new car prices are coming back. But either way, the theory still holds. Forget a 10-year-old, make it a 15-year-old Honda. It doesn't matter, as long as you're not going out. And like I said, if your goal is to buy a house in the next 2 years, you should not be caught dead on a dealership lot, because you should be saving all of that money and credit resource for your mortgage and not going into a car, which, by the way, is a heavily depreciating asset. And your house is not. So whatever you can afford that's a cash car that will run, that will get you to work and back, that's what you should be in. I remember I was trying to buy my house. I wanted to buy a new car. I didn't. I drove a manual transmission base model Ford Focus for like 8 years.
Oh my God.
Because I was like, no, I'm not getting into one of these car payment things. I'm not doing it.
That's how my husband and I roll. Whenever we get a new car, we trade in, we save up enough to pay the balance. So we trade in and then we pay the balance. And then we never lease. We never take a car loan out. It's like it's cash. And then we drive that to the ground. I've had my Toyota now for 9 years. It's got 150,000 miles on it. And it's like, I'm still going.
I got a Kia with 130. I drive a Kia with 135,000 miles. It's in my driveway. That's what I drive to work every day.
I love it.
And
I love it.
That's just what it takes.
I love it. All right, we have your post and ad and retirement community looking for used car. I got my Escape for 3,000. It has 28,000 miles. Good for
That's what
you.
I'm talking
There
about,
you
Kitty
go.
Cat.
See?
That's what
There
I'm
you
talking
go.
about.
There you go. All right. So oh my God, it's been just over an hour, Joe.
I know. Well, like I said, your chat is very smart, very attentive.
Yes. I love
They've
these
been
guys.
excellent.
Love these guys. So for anybody who's interested in the California market, specifically LA, I just want to share with you Joe's channel right here. You can find Joe's channel right here, and he's talking about all things in his area out there in Los Angeles. Be sure to check him out. He's an awesome agent. And let me go back to what else we want to share here. I have so much I got to share today. Oh my God. So hold on a minute. All right. And then anybody who needs to get in touch with need a real estate agent in your area, you can always go on to my website right here. It's JackieBakerSellsNJ.com. If you go scroll down to the bottom, you will see there's a form there. Please fill that out. Will respond to you within 24 hours, and I'll try to get you connected to an agent in your area. And one more shameless plug. You know what? I gotta do my shameless plug.
Of course.
Me and my good friend Jen up there in Massachusetts, we have our podcast, Reddit Real Estate Disasters. We're on YouTube. We're on all podcast platforms. Please check us out. We have a lot of fun, and believe it or not, it's good, valuable information because I'm sharing stories from Reddit of like actual people's stories, like their experiences, like bad experiences when they bought or sold a home. And then Jen and I opine on it, and we share like how we would have handled it. So it's very informative. So yeah, that's what I have for tonight. This has been a great live stream as usual. And Joe, thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
It's been awesome. And to everybody who tuned in tonight, I know it was an hour earlier. Next week, I will resume back to my normal time at 7:30. I just had a little family stuff going on. I had to do it at 6:30 tonight. So I appreciate everyone still showing up and taking part in the conversation. So Joe, thanks again. Everybody have a fantastic week, and I will see you all next Monday.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.